All right, welcome everybody. We'll give everybody just a minute to get settled in here, and then we'll start in about 1 minute. All right, well, good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name's Kevin McMenamin, and I'm your host this afternoon from Loss Prevention Magazine, and with me is my partner in organized retail crime, Jack Britton. Jack, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Kevin. I'm ready to change this background from a winter background to a spring background, though. I can tell you that.
If it was only as easy as just changing the background, right?
Well, we're working on it.
Yeah, well, we're in New Hampshire. We are looking at like 20 degrees, but we're about to go to 50 apparently. So we might do that in the course of a weekend, I think. Hey, thanks everybody for joining us for our strategies in creating a culture of safety in retail. We've got an awesome panel that we put together for you today. We've got Tina from Kroger, we've got Maureen from Big Y, and we've got Amber and Julie from Walgreens. We're really excited to get started on their sessions. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors just to begin with. We've got a couple of great sponsors today, Sensormatic and Hanwha Vision. Without these sponsors, these sessions aren't possible. So, really appreciate you guys showing them some love, checking out their websites, learning more about their products. I'll tell you just a little bit more about each one of them now. Hanwha Vision is surveillance solutions built for retail. Hanwha Vision Solutions combine total cybersecurity, AI analytics, and cloud-ready technology to help retailers strengthen loss prevention, increase shopper satisfaction, and enhance operational efficiency. Find out more by visiting hanwhavision.com. And our other sponsor for today is Sensormatic. Sensormatic is on the forefront of loss prevention innovation that also delivers greater visibility into shrink and improves operational efficiency. Our innovative solutions are designed to help retailers protect their merchandise, prevent shrink, and fight the threats posed by retail crime, while still delivering a frictionless experience for shoppers. Want to see these solutions in action? Well, if you're going to RILA, they'll be at the booth at the RILA Asset Protection Show in booth 309. And if you're headed to NRF, please visit them at the NRF Protect booth in booth 1142, or you can visit their website at www.sensormatic.com. We always like to thank our education partner, Loss Prevention Foundation, that helps us put all this together and get these educational sessions out. So thank you to LPF. And if you are LPQ or LPC certified, please make sure that you keep track of your attendance in today's session, because you do qualify for 3 CEU credits for maintaining your certification. So keep track of that information. If you are on this webinar, you were probably contacted in some way, shape, or form by Loss Prevention Magazine. And if for some weird reason you are not already subscribed to Loss Prevention Magazine, well then, darn it, get on that QR code right now and scan it. And let's get you subscribed today, because it is free, F-R-E-E, free. It's one of my favorite 4-letter words. Let's use that all day today and say free, 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 free for Loss Prevention Magazine for me. So I'll have this QR code up again. If you weren't fast enough to get your phone out this time, I promise you I will bring it back towards the end, because if I don't, then Stephanie will be very upset with me. So we can't have that. If you are on this call and you are either related to or involved with in any way, shape, or form the ongoing issues of ORC out there, and working with law enforcement, either through the organized retail crime associations, through your organization, or if you are in fact with law enforcement, please know that we have some great ORC training that is available. And we have scholarships available, so that it's also F-R-E-E, my favorite word. Scholarships are available for your local department. So please make sure that you reach out to me and let me know. And I am very happy to get you connected for you, your whole department, we have plenty of scholarships available. So take advantage of that, and we can get that ORC training out there to you. All right, let's get started. Jack, you want to introduce Tina?
Okay, everyone, back by popular demand, we have Tina Bauman. She's the Senior Manager of Safety and OSHA Compliance at the Kroger Company. Tina, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you?
Absolutely, and thank you. Thank you for the welcome. Again, Tina Bauman, Senior Leader, Safety and OSHA Compliance at Kroger Company. I've been with the Kroger Company for almost 28 years. I have most of my background with Kroger is HR and safety, but I'll probably give my age away a little bit here, about 35 years in safety in my background. So something very near and dear to my heart. I work out of our corporate office, but I am out in the field about 75 to 80% of the time. And that's where the rubber hits the road as far as I'm concerned. And that's where I need to be. Absolutely love what I do, and looking forward to being here today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Tina. We're looking forward to hearing all about the All Safe program. Jack and I have both been privy to presentations that you've done in the past, and at your annual conferences, talking about all the success that you guys have had internally. So we're very excited about this first session here. And just to, if it makes you feel any better, we just realized that we've been doing the stuff that we've been doing for 25 years as the most recent career, but past that, another 6 years, and before that, another 4 years. And I'm only 42. So, so if that makes you feel any better, don't worry about that 35, because I'm sure we're all 29 again, right?
Yeah, I'm 42, right there with you.
There you go. All right. I've got your slides set up, so we'll jump in.
Let's get started. So I'm here to tell you just all about the Kroger Company. We started with a new safety program when I took this role about 4.5 years ago now. And we had a program that was very task oriented. And so we implemented what I am referring to as our All Safe program. And the All Safe program is all about the human side of safety. So you can go on to the next slide. When I started looking at our program, the first thing that I thought about is we really need to go back to the basics. We need to start with our values. And if you think of our values, the core values of safety, for example, safety is the heart of everything that we do. We respect the value of others' opinions, and that's what's making this program so successful. The diversity is just celebrating who we are through our culture, our background, inclusion through teamwork and collaboration. And then the top two that you see on the screen, integrity and honesty. And those are really the cornerstone of our values, making sure that we're truthful at all times with what we're doing with our associates, our vendors, our customers, whomever it may be, that we're following and staying true to our principles. And here's the catch, we're doing that even when no one's looking. So our values are a huge part of this program, and making sure that we take our teams back to the basics to really get the human side back into safety. When you look at our mission is very simple. It's about caring. It's called caring for everyone's safety, making sure that everyone gets home to what's most important to them, which is their family, their friends, and activities they like to do. We know they enjoy slicing lunch meat at the store. We know that's a lot of fun for them, but trust me, it's not the most important thing. So we want to make sure that they know that their family is important to us too, and what the effect of them having an injury at work could do to their family. Our purpose as we build our road to zero is we really are just looking at making sure everyone is trained, educated, and they understand how to protect themselves from every hazard of their job. And this, again, is just taking it back to the basics. And then why? That picture shows it all. It's our people. Our people, there's just no greater asset to any company than the people that take care of our customers each and every day, are out on the front line, so to speak, through COVID, through everything, our people were just absolutely amazing. And that's why this program is so important. Next slide, please. Like every company, we like to see where we compare in the industry. So this just gives you a quick snapshot looking at some of our competitors and how do we get better. We look at all of our processes and procedures for OSHA compliance, training, education. Right now, I'm doing a reanalyzing all of our injury review process. Are we getting what we need? Do we need to streamline it? So we're really digging into that root cause analysis. We're streamlining our training content, making it easier for our associates to be able to do it, whether they're doing it on their cell phone or they're doing it on a handheld device we have in the store, or if they would rather sit at the computer and do it that way, we're making sure that we can get to the associate however the associate needs us to get there. And then really at the end of the day, making sure that we're holding them accountable to their training. You know, it's so important that they understand that this training is for them to know and learn and then live. So we want to make sure that that accountability process is there as well. Next slide, please. So looking at our 2024 strategy, we have a few pilots that I have going on and a few other ones in the works. One that I've found a lot of success with at this point is we are doing a slip-resistant shoe pilot program with Shoes for Crews. And we have them in our perishable departments, and our associates it's mandatory that they wear the Shoes for Crews shoes. And we've seen between a 5 and 7% reduction in injuries just in those departments, in those three divisions that we have them in. Great pilot that going on right now. The other pilot we have going on is we call it the All Safe Interactions. And you probably know that as observations. I'm sure everyone does observations, just watching and seeing what's going on. Well, we put a little twist with it. You know, the interactions, we're actually going to interact with our associates. When they're working, we're going to make sure that they're doing everything safe. And if we see that they're not doing something safe, we're going to stop what they're doing right then and there and coach, teach, and train. Super excited about this. The first group of reviews that have come in from the interactions has been nothing but amazing. All of us have that problem right now, unfortunately, with illicit substances, and we've been working with a couple of different companies to find the best result of how do we deter them from using our restrooms. You know, we can't stop people. We know if people really want to do this, they're going to do it. But how can we deter them? Whether it's putting a CCTV camera above the entrance way to the restrooms where their picture shows, using a QR code where they have to scan it and then they get a QR code sent to their phone. We're looking at many different things on how can we deter the restroom use for illicit substances. As far as new products, right now we are really focusing on our ANSI standards and what does the ANSI standards state that we have to have as far as first aid kits, our personal protective equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going through some pretty big task right now, working with vendors, getting that through our sourcing team, getting bids on different PPE, looked at it from our entire enterprise standpoint, not just our retail side. So looking through the PPE and making sure that one, we're meeting the ANSI standard and that our associates have the best protection they can. As far as, you know, other projects, you know, we always are focusing on our OSHA injury rate, making sure that one, it's accurate, two, that it's lowering as everybody wants it to do, right? And then injury reduction, making sure that, again, we're getting our people home to what's most important. If somebody has to call a family, a friend, and let them know that their loved one got hurt, just the reaction that that family goes through, we want to stop that as best that we can. All of our OSHA plans injury review, we're streamlining and we're taking them to a digital platform. Again, we're cleaning up our safety supplies. And the next thing I'm really excited to talk to you about is our recognition program. So you can go on to the next slide. So the All Safe Angel Award. The All Safe Angel Award is something that I implemented last April. And the All Safe, and you can go on to the next slide and start going through. The All Safe Angel Award is, you're going to see pictures from different stores where we have presented them with the award. And this award is recognizing our associates who perform a heroic act of kindness of life saving. So it's either they actually were able to save somebody's life, or at least they attempted. Since last April, we've handed out 29 Angel Awards. This is the most prestigious award that they can get from a safety standpoint. When you think of recognition, recognition shows our associates that we care about them, that we are listening to them. We saw what they were doing, and we want to be there to celebrate with them. And the next couple photos coming through, we're going to share one of our stories because it's just truly amazing. And it's about a young man who was a vendor. And this next picture, you're going to see his back. He is a vendor for us, and he's in the red shirt here. And he was up on about a 25-foot ladder and had a medical emergency and fell. And the young man fell headfirst onto the concrete floor in our back room. Luckily, we had 2 meat department associates who had first aid, EMT in their background. And those 2 associates physically held this young man's head together. The paramedics came, they've got him in. This picture is 2 months to the day of that accident, and that young man was there with us to celebrate and thank the team that gave him that next chance of life. So again, our Angel Award is such an amazing award. I do deliver the Angel Award to everyone. I travel the entire United States, wherever they are happening. I make sure that I'm the one there. And we also introduced our All Safe All-Star Award for those that go above and beyond, and then an All Safe Award for our top 3 performing divisions every year. So with that, that tells you a little bit about our All Safe program, and happy to take questions if anyone has any, or I think we're waiting till the end of the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Tina, thanks for sharing all of that. What a great program. And you guys have just made such incredible headway and made such a connection, with the staffing in the stores, in a way that it's really hard to accomplish that, right? It's really hard to make that connection and really hard to get them to buy in. And we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that as we talk about everybody's program as sort of the, panel here. Would ask folks to go ahead and if you have some questions for Tina, start putting them in the Q&A now, but we're going to actually do kind of a group Q&A and a little bit of a panel discussion as we come out of the 3 presentations today. So Tina, thank you very much for that. And
my pleasure.
I'm going to tee up Amber and Julie next.
Yeah, there were some great stories there, Kevin. I can't stress that enough, what a great program that is. But next up, we have Amber Durkin, who's the Senior Director of Employee and Environmental Safety at Walgreens, along with Julie Biederman, who's Environmental Health and Safety Manager at Walgreens. Ladies?
Hi, good afternoon. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
No,
Great. I had a lot of connection issues, so thanks for validating that.
We're gonna have you guys tell a little bit about yourselves first, Amber, and then and while we do that, I'm gonna stop sharing, and then you can kind of be teeing up your slides.
Perfect. I was just going to ask you that because they told me I couldn't share. Perfect. So as Jack mentioned, my name is Amber Durkin. I'm the Senior Director for Employee and Environmental Safety. So what that comprises of is I have Security Operations Center as a team, a function under myself. They do all central kind of operations from monitoring the stores. They monitor all the cameras in all the stores, all emergency situations from a correspondence perspective, social media threats, etc. I also oversee business continuity, environmental health and safety, and environmental sustainability. So today I have a few of my team members on here from the environmental sustainability side and environmental health and safety. And Julie, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julie Biederman. I am on the environmental health and safety team. So I am under Amber Durkin, as she mentioned. I have been with Walgreens for 25 years. Quite a bit of time during that time has been in the field, but I'm now a part of the environmental health and safety team, mainly dealing with and helping to create programs around health and safety specifically as of right now. So it's a pleasure to be with all of you today.
Excellent. Well, Amber, I think the only other question that I have for you before you get started and you share your slides is whose birthday was it? Is it yours?
Oh, I just realized I had that. It's my daughter. She just turned 6.
Oh, fantastic. Well, happy
Yeah.
birthday.
So you get to see my living space here.
Yeah, no, it's great. It looks great. I just, I was like, well, if we didn't want to miss out the opportunity to say happy birthday to you or to your, to your daughter, if she can let the whole audience is applauding right now to say happy birthday. She get
Yeah,
a,
she did not think the decorations were enough. A 6-year-old needs to be extra over the top. So next year we'll
Absolutely.
try better as parents.
Absolutely. All right, you
Thanks,
should
Kevin,
be
for
able
the
to share screen
opportunity.
here.
Okay.
And there we go.
There we
Beautiful.
go.
Am I working? Okay, so we
You're
don't do
working.
Zoom at Walgreens. We do Teams. So bear with me throughout this
You're doing really well.
presentation. So today, similar to Tina, we are going to focus on our environmental health and safety focus areas today. We're going to talk about how our strategies had to pivot over the last few years in regards to particularly around the safety division, and where we've really had a deep dive based on community activities and kind of the state of the world outside of our doors. I'm going to pivot into the next slide. Maybe. That's weird. Okay. So here we have some directional data just to show you, and I really wanted to frame this up. How can I minimize this? Perfect. I don't know why that's doing that. That's weird. So I wanted to frame this up just to give everybody a real snapshot into where we have been in the past, where we still focus today, but how we've shifted our safety lens in the last couple of years and the why behind that. And then the rest of the presentation will dive into that as well. So in recent years, as a snapshot, our slips, trips, and falls have been responsible for approximately 52% of our total workers' compensation and general liability cases on the casualty side. Today, they comprise of only about 34% of total incidents. But why I highlight this today is because the cost of these claims outweighs the rest. So as we have to pivot into this not being our top focus area, we can't lose sight of it because it does encapsulate our highest spend across the book of business when it comes to claims. So when we look at here, what we're doing right now is, I would say before, we took a very pointed view into slips, trips, and falls. And you think of walking working services as a whole, but you say, okay, let's say I have a spike, and right here I have objects, 53% are due to objects on the floor. Well, if you dive deeper, peel the onion back, that says, okay, objects on the floor. I have totes in the pharmacy, right? Just got an Inmar delivery, just got a delivery. We've got totes in the pharmacy. We're tripping over them. And then we just, as a safety team, we may work with the pharmacy team. This is just an example. Work with the pharmacy team, figure out how we deep dive into removing and try to get pharmacy totes off the pharmacy floor. However, we've started to step back and say, we need to look at this a little differently cross-functionally. How do we bundle working surface injuries as a whole? And I say, slips, trips, and falls due to objects on the floor, water, liquid, external events, all of these bottom cause contributors down here at the bottom of the slide. How do we bundle that, pair that with the store care data of store care's priorities may not be the priorities for the safety team, right? As far as what our injuries are showing, they may have, we have air conditioning units that need replaced. We're going to prioritize our spend that we get for the fiscal year in the maintenance division, and we're going to pump our money into that because we can't have air conditioning units out in the stores or the pharmacies, so that should trump everything else. Even though safety is a priority across the entire lens of the corporation. But rightfully so, different divisions are going to have different priorities. So if you take the data, you compare it with what's the data from a maintenance perspective. So you have, let's say, another example, we have a pothole in one of our stores, and we show an injury trend with that's caused, let's say, $3 million in claims over the last 2 years. Well, the easiest thing to say is, well, why hasn't maintenance repaired the hole? That's easy to say when we're bumped up against other maintenance priorities, right? So how can we use that to partner with maintenance, have maintenance tell us better story of why they also need additional funding to prioritize that work because it's causing injuries? And also, how do we partner that with the labor side? The labor and capacity division, which is looking at all the labor in our stores, that then if someone gets injured, how do we take those days away from work and say, oh, by the way, this store is also, these people can't return to work, they're not working, we're low in staff because there's this pothole. So how do we bundle, I use that word, may not be the right word, how do we bundle all of that together when we look at partnering cross-functionally to make a better impact when we're asking for things to be fixed or when we're going after the development or the revision of a program? So I wanted to dive into here and just explain how we're not losing focus of this area, even though our injuries around this space are improving. The financials are going up, but I wanted to touch on how we're looking at it from a different lens of how we bundle them together so we can divisionally come at it together and really show a cross-functional lens of where all that spend is being impacted and impacting our team members as well, and also our customers, because then we don't have the appropriate labor to support our customer base. This is where I want to pivot into where our claim trends have changed. So I spoke on the slips, trips, and falls struck by objects, and how we've shown a decrease by 50%. So you can see that trajectory go down there. However, our lens has focused since 2019 on workplace violence. We've seen claims increase by over 100%. And that's just the way, unfortunately, outside of our doors, the world is today. And I will also mention, it does also come inside of our doors in some aspect, right? The world we live in today is not the world we lived into prior to 2019. So if we look at just raw data, it says we need to step back. What are we doing different? We need to relook at our workplace violence training. We need to relook at our workplace violence policies around gun violence, around, how we take a stance as an organization. How do we protect our team members and our customer bases inside of our doors? How do we put up signage saying we don't tolerate harassment, we don't tolerate violence in our stores? Looking at every different factor that we haven't ever had to look for before prior to 2019. And even more so now, as it continues to get, continues to increase, or I was going to say get out of hand, so to speak. We don't see it improving. So how can we make sure we're doing all we can to make our team members and customers feel as safe as possible when they're walking in and out of our environments? And if there's any questions throughout this, I can't see you all, so just yell it out and I'll answer your questions.
Yeah, we have them put in the chat, Amber, and then we'll address those at the end when we do the panel.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Kevin. One of the things we have not lost focus of too, and I wanted to speak about this, we actually were the winners of the Green Cross Award for Safety for the National Safety Council this past year. I'm very, very honored and blessed and thankful for my entire team, the field leadership, for really putting their heart and soul into this program and continuing to evolve and improve the program today. We have over 70% adoption with our safety-focused stockrooms. And what we did is we really made sure that we lowered our shelving. So you should be able to reach everything from standing on the ground. How do we make sure our team members, we're not putting product at elevated levels? And what does that mean? That's a big organizational effort, right? Cross-functionally. That would require reducing SKUs in the stores, getting better organized. We obviously know we pump seasonal items in. You know, we've already got Easter up. We just got rid of Valentine's Day. So we're always pumping in and out seasonal products, which take up space too. What do we do with the records that were stored above, you know, the shelving units? And so it was a massive effort, and a massive collaborative effort amongst my team, field leadership teams, the rest of asset protection as well, who's in the field every day. And I will say we were the winners for this program implementation. As we pivot into our workplace violence prevention journey, here's where I said we really have to take a step back since 2019 and really focus on our foundation. Do we have the right protocols, procedures, training in place to adequately address the pivot in the outside environment that we live in today? And how do we make the team member journey more personal, more conversational versus just sitting down and taking a course? How do we bring in domestic violence? How do we bring in all these personal aspects that we see inside of our stores? And how do we make that more personal so that our team members feel that we're adequately protecting them and care about them as a person, not just as an employee? So we've taken dramatic efforts, and Kevin and his team, Kevin, I'm going to give you a big shout out. Kevin and his team, you know, we sat down, we threw a big rock to Kevin and said, give us some ideas, help us. How do we get more personal? How do we tie in domestic violence? How do we get more of and I'm not promoting TikTok, but like TikTok-like videos into our training environment versus so we can make sure that we reach all generations in our training. And so we have more effectiveness with that. So we are currently in that process now with Kevin and his team. We have also made changes to our workplace violence policy, customer or team member facing. We've also taken a stance, like we don't tolerate guns or weapons in our locations. We, which I know a lot of others on this call did as well. There was a massive retail effort in 2019 to really take a stance on that. And I know a lot of corporations on this call did as well. Focus on our store emergency plans, our business continuity plans, our time delay safes, our fixtures in the stores to prevent shoplifting. So how do we build the strongest foundation we can across functionally and also providing them the tools and resources they need to be successful? Providing do's and don'ts to the policies. You know, we get a lot of questions around like, well, can we bring in pepper spray? Can we not bring in pepper spray? Like there's a lot of do's and don'ts we've had to address with our team members around workplace violence because it's just ever evolving more so than it ever has before. How do we install, making sure we have pharmacy shields, working with our major crimes team? We have external vendor partners. If you've seen the security cameras that are powered by solar panels, those are the LVTs. Those are outside security protection devices to protect our store environments and prevent crime in our locations. So how do we work with all of these people to properly apprehend where applicable? How do we try to just ensure adequate protection to our team members, customers at all times so they feel safe going in and out of our establishments? I already spoke very heavily on our learning models, and I'll get into that in more detail, but really massive efforts of minimizing the long training courses that we in the past have taken. While a few years ago, that was the right thing to do. And how do we do it different? By making sure we comply with all the applicable regulations and getting our message across. But stepping back now and say, how do we break those up into little clips little 2-minute clips, 1-minute clips, and make a bigger impact and tie this whole training module into a journey for the team member? How do we make it more personal? How do we make them feel like they're a person and that we care about them and not just them as a team member? And how can they just be protected at work? These are things they can take back home with them in the outside environment and use to help protect them as well. Have you dove into your current workplace violence team member response? You know, how does your team members respond? Does their response look different from 2017, 18 and beyond? Does it look different than how it should today? How do you still provide ECC, extraordinary customer care? How do you still provide that customer care if you just stocked a shelf and you witness someone shoplifting? Are you supposed to approach and say, can I help you? How has all of that evolved and changed into something that we have to step back and relook at? And now is the time to do that. So we've really addressed and worked on this as well. You know, we have the current run, hide, fight, defend too. And while I'm not saying that's not still the case, how do we further dive into that a bit? What does it mean? Why? We really want to address the why in our current training revisions and our new strategy of why is this training important? Why do I need to take it? How is it going to help me? So answering the 5 whys is our goal in this new training strategy we have. Our prevention strategies and solutions, I spoke about them a bit. They're very important. Again, extraordinary customer care. It's very, very important. We have that to keep our customer base loyal. Loyalty amongst our team members as well, and making sure that they want to come to work every day. They feel safe coming to work every day. But just how and when do we apply that extraordinary customer care? When is it applicable and when not is it applicable? It may have been the direction in the past to approach when you see a shoplifter because maybe that might deter them away. But that's not the intent, and it should not be the intent in our opinion, because we feel that could put your team members and customers in harm's way by doing that. Active learnings. How do we make sure, just again, I already spoke on this, I won't dive into it too much, but re-looking at all your training. Does it need to be that long? Should it be the same title? How do you tie in domestic violence? And I know I keep using that as an example, but how do you tie in things that come into the workplace or could come into the workplace, or things that have been brought to our attention that our team members may struggle with outside the work environment, mental health? How do we tie in all of this into our workplace violence strategy and the training we're providing them? Our engineering and perimeter controls, our lighting, our outside lighting, outside music to deter people away, and our time delay safes to prevent theft from our medications. Again, it's just all about the protection aspect. And we have extraordinary teams that manage our engineering and perimeter controls and are constantly changing and evaluating better mechanisms and tools to protect our product in the stores, to therefore make it more efficient and effective for our customers to access, but our team members to actually manage and help the customer get what they need quicker, but also safer. And sometimes that's very hard to do. Quicker and safer usually don't go together, but trying to find that balance is what's key. So working cross-functionally is what's really instrumental in this environment. We have a 24/7 nurse triage and TPA support. So TPA is our third-party administrator. So we have a nurse triage team that sits under me, nurse triage and liability intake on the customer side, that sits under myself, and then works with our third-party administrator and our third-party group. I do oversee the entire property and casualty cost for the company. So I'm very close to all the claims, strategies, mitigation efforts. How can we improve our nurse triage adoption, our liability intake payments? How can we improve all of that, but how do we synergize it all to tell one story? And this goes back to the bundling aspect. How do we tell one story and every division is telling the same story versus having to focus on different areas? Because at the end of the day, that's not going to get us to where we need to be. Employee assistance programs, I spoke about mental health a little bit, but it goes beyond mental health, right? Everybody in their everyday environments, all of us on the call, someone's struggling with something, or someone needs support, someone needs assistance, someone needs someone to talk to. So how do we provide resources and tools 24/7 for our people, counseling services? So I have a tremendous person on my team that follows up on incidents with the store leadership teams to make sure they felt cared for post-incident, and obviously providing 360 counseling services being deployed to stores if needed, but definitely supporting the team members that are impacted, and also nearby stores because they're all friends, right? They all talk together. Everybody's impacted. It's a community. It's a family. So everybody's impacted. So how can we ensure we are working with the HR and ER divisions to and the benefits team to make sure we have the right assistance programs that are needed for the incidents we see that are occurring. Policies addressing discrimination, harassment, and managing biases. I can tell you, we always make sure that unconscious bias is being discussed and addressed in every single thing we put in place with regards to workplace violence. Making sure we don't provide any biases to anyone coming in our environments. And like I said, very important from how does your company handle weapons? How do we provide signage that says we don't tolerate harassment and workplace violence in our environments? And I'll show you an example of that right here. So new and future prevention strategies and solutions. So we just put this in place. Julie will be able to tell you the exact day because she did a tremendous job actually creating this and rolling it out to all of our stores. We want everybody to know we respect them. We value them. So we just want them to know, please don't bring workplace violence into our environment. And we also don't tolerate it. By doing this, so our team members actually asked for this. They actually brought this to our attention. Hey, we see this when we're shopping in Nordstrom. I think Nordstrom was the one who has a very strong customer-facing poster as well. But a lot of retail establishments are putting some sort of sign up around workplace violence and harassment about how it's not tolerated. So they said, why don't we have that? We couldn't answer that. And we said, we need it. Why don't we have it? What's it going to hurt? Let's try. So any idea is a good idea from our team members. So we put them in place, and we got very positive accolades for putting this in place. They felt more valued. They felt more respected. They felt like we were listening to them. We heard them. We understand what they're going through and that workplace violence is a top issue. This piece of paper meant so much to them. And we as an organization stand behind every word on here cross-functionally. And the key points to why we wanted to do this, we wanted to make sure that, again, with the training and tying all these posters and signage and everything together, we are connecting with our team members on a more emotional level. We're continuing to demonstrate care and unconscious bias, and we're providing them life skills that they can apply anywhere. We always want them to know that safety is our number one priority, and we care about them and their families. That's all I had. I wanted to stop for a moment and turn it over to Julie Biederman. She is the face and name behind the majority of all of these programs and does a tremendous amount of work and great work in partnering with the store and leadership teams, as well as additional team members on this call as well that I have. So I want to give her a chance to add in anything that I may have skipped over.
I think you covered everything, Amber. You did an amazing job. This team is amazing, like you already said. And, we have a lot of really great people that really care. tremendously about our team members, right? Our team members in the store go through so much on a day-to-day basis, just in terms of, you know, taking care of customers and everything else that they do to maintain the store, right? And our job over on the EH&S side of things is to take care of them, make sure that they're safe. And, I hold that very close to my heart every single day, and that's what I get up and come to work for. So everything that we put into place and we continue to do, so I'm extremely proud of.
Kevin, that's all we have, pending any questions later on. So I appreciate the time that you allowed us to present today, and welcome any questions at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Amber, and thank you, Julie. Great program there. And yeah, there's definitely a few things we're going to expand upon. I think the signage piece is a big play that we should definitely talk about, because you really do see those in a lot of places now. When we talk about, even just the please be patient because we're short-staffed. You see that everywhere too. And it's just getting that message out and reminding people to take a breath before they come in the door. But I'll hold on that because, but it's a good transition, because the problem is that people are coming through the door, and a lot of the things that we're seeing when they do come through the door are these aggressive behaviors, and that's a concern, right? And that this is a big area for Maureen, and that she's gonna expand upon for us, because Maureen, you've got some background in the aggressive behavior world. And you work at a company where you have to deal with it every day, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back to sharing screen here. And as we go forward, thank you again, Amber and Julie. And next up is Maureen Fuller from Big Y. So Maureen, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background?
Okay, so I am Maureen Fuller from Big Y. I've been with Big Y for 35 years. I started when I was 3, and I have been in asset protection for the last 25 years. Never thought I would end up here. This was not my career goal. I was always kind of a retail customer service person through most of my career. My dad worked for Sears for 45 years, so it was kind of in my blood. But I just caught the bug and decided I wanted to be in asset protection. And so that's the direction I went. I am currently the senior manager of asset protection. I don't have the safety responsibilities that the other panelists were talking about. I am strictly asset protection, security, shrink, best practices, things like that. So I'm going to talk about what we do from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and while you don't necessarily have the same safety stuff under your, sort of your point of responsibility, but it is still all about keeping people safe, right?
Absolutely.
The whole process. So the tie-in here for us was great, and the experience that you have in this area, I think, is excellent. So we'll let you take it away from there. And for folks who had questions for Amber and Julie, please, you can start putting those in the Q&A, because we're going to get to questions after. And as Maureen talks, please feel free to throw some of those in there as well.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So when I started in asset protection 25 years ago, this is actually a picture of me as a store detective. We were catching shoplifters. That's what we did. We were undercover. We tried to catch as many shoplifters as we possibly could. We didn't have a lot of ORC back then. It really hadn't hit. There were, a few pockets of it here and there, but it was really small time. And we were very reactive and always undercover, sometimes even from the employees in the stores, because sometimes we were watching them. Next slide, Kevin. So as it does, everything changes frequently. And in the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen some huge changes in society that have really affected the way we do things, the way we think about things, the way we go to business. COVID was just unbelievable for us. The whole vax or not to vax, mask or not to mask was just huge for us. We had grocery stores where we were required to have people mask by the state mandate. And if we approached them and asked them to mask, we would get a fight. We had an instance in one of our stores where a father and son came in to shop, and a gentleman, and I use the word loosely, was harassing the son about the way he was wearing the mask. and the son turned around and punched him in the face and knocked him out. You know, fun things like that were going on. With this whole COVID thing, ORC really took off as well, because we didn't want to apprehend people. We didn't want to be touching people. We didn't want to get near people. The police didn't want to arrest anybody and put them in the back of their cruiser or take them to the police department. And what good would it had done, because the courts were closed and nobody was getting prosecuted. So it became a very opportunistic time for the ORC actors to get what they could get and get out of the store, because they knew there were no penalties. And these were dangerous and many times desperate people who were either victims of the opioid epidemic or part of human trafficking. And it just really became almost unmanageable. And then came the changes in our political climate. And I'm not taking sides, but I can tell you that you pick a side and there is somebody on the other side that is there that wants to fight you because they think your opinion is wrong. The anger and the intolerance that we saw in the not just our customers, but our employees as well. Everybody was affected by this, was unbelievable. And as I said, became almost unmanageable. Next slide, Kevin. So now we know it's especially important to spend our time focusing on deterrence and prevention, recognizing situations that might escalate, deterring the influx of ORC actors, helping our frontline employees to be better prepared when they're faced with a potentially violent or dangerous situation is critical to the safety and security of our employees and customers. And really, those are our two most important assets. You know, you can talk about product, you can talk about money, you can talk about the buildings, but our most important assets are our people. Excuse me. So we're really focused on proactively preventing anybody from being a victim of workplace violence or bad behavior or anything like that. Next slide, Kevin. So I think the key to this, preventing and mitigating aggression and violence, requires more than just a single solution. And I call it multiple layers of security because I really like parfait. And I found a picture of parfait that I could put on the slide to demonstrate the layers. And because aggression and violence come from so many different directions, no two situations are the same. You really have to use a multi-layered approach to make sure that you can de-escalate before things get out of control. So to do this effectively, we use these multiple layers of mitigation, a multi-layered approach. Sometimes you only need to use one solution. Sometimes you need two, sometimes you need all three. But I think they fall very basically into three broad categories: technology, people, and training and awareness. Next slide. So let's talk about technology. This is my least favorite because I'm actually very old and it's almost overwhelming to see the technology that is coming into the marketplace, the solution providers who are popping up everywhere. Everybody's got a new idea and there's so many good things out there in the marketplace. So these are some of the things that we're looking at. We're not using all of them right now, but some of the things with which we've had some success and some of the things that we're trying to figure out, are these the best things for us? So AI-enabled cameras, they're all the rage, right? They can help detect workplace violence. They can see somebody who's getting out of control and send an alert. They can detect shoplifting behaviors and send an alert. And that's one of the best things, is the alerts. They can send them to the right people. They can recognize faces of people that you don't want in your stores. They can recognize license plates of people that you don't want on your property. Amber talked about the domestic violence piece of this. And when you have a woman who's afraid that her ex-husband is going to show up and kill her, don't you want to know that if his car pulls onto your property? That's one of the most important things. So AI-enabled cameras can do all kinds of great things for us. Shelf alert systems. These are awesome. You want to have a theft deterrence without employee intervention. And the shelf alert system does just that. I didn't buy into this when we first looked at it, but I see it in action now. When you take 2 cases of Red Bull off the shelf or a couple of Tides off the shelf, the alert goes up into the PA system and says assistance needed. in laundry detergents, assistance needed in energy drinks, and you see the bad guys look up at the camera. So we get a really good face shot too. And then they put the stuff back or they dump the carriage. It's a really great technology for us because we don't need our employees to be involved except for the come around the corner and say, hello, can I get some more Red Bull for you and help you out to your car with it? And that's a great deterrent. They're not intervening. They're not trying to stop anybody, but they're there to recognize that there's somebody there taking product off the shelf. And that's usually enough to deter the bad guy, make him go away. Cart push out technology, kind of a similar solution. When you get to the door, if you haven't gone through a register, your cart stops and you can't take the rest of the product. So unless you already have it bagged and you can carry it all out in your hands, you got to leave the product behind. And I've seen it work, and it's just a phenomenal technology that's in the marketplace these days, because you don't have to have your employee confront the bad guy. You keep them out of danger while keeping the product in the store and letting the bad guy know you can't come in here and steal because we're going to stop you. SCO theft solutions. This has become something that is so huge these days. There's so many solutions out there. When we first started looking at this, there was like one, and it was very expensive, and it was, it's been wildly deployed everywhere, but there are so many of them out there now with so many different perspectives. They see when somebody is passing from the cart to the bag, or the buggy to the bag, as Daniel would say. Or they can see when somebody's stacking. There are some solutions that see somebody ringing their steaks as bananas, and the system will say, hey, wait a minute, that's not bananas, that's a steak. And it stops the transaction so that when the SCO attendant approaches, the person already knows there's an issue and they're less likely to lash out at the SCO attendant. And that's one of the biggest issues we have right now, is in that SCO corral. People are trying to steal and they get interrupted and they get angry. This way, the system just stops them, the register just stops them, and the SCO attendant doesn't really have to do anything but go over and help them. That's a great solution. And then parking lot camera trailers. Amber mentioned this too, the LVTs. We have deployed those in several of our locations. And again, I wasn't really sure what they would do because they're kind of a passive solution, but they're really not. They talk to customers. They tell people at night, yo, we're closed, get out. Or the blue lights flash and people see them and they know that they're being watched. And for our customers and our employees, it's comforting to know that we're paying attention and we take their safety seriously. The bad guys look at them and they say, oh, I better be careful what I'm doing here. And because they're going to get a picture of me, or they're going to get my license plate. We deployed this solution in one of our, let's say, most challenging stores. And instantly, within 3 months, our shoplifting, our violence issues, our overdoses in the bathroom had gone down significantly. So we decided to move forward with them, and they're doing a really, really nice job for us. Okay, next slide. So now let's talk about human assets. And this is something that both Tina and Amber alluded to, is that you have to have human beings behind all these programs. If you don't have human beings involved, you're not going to be successful with this, because you can't roll out technology without a human being be there to run it. We're not quite there yet. Someday, but they are critical to our efforts in the stores. So we're in the process right now, and we have been for a while, adopting, or creating rather, a hybrid store rep. And we call them store reps. We no longer call them store detectives. They are asset protection store reps. They represent us in the stores, and they are there to be part of the stores. And this hybrid rep, I know somebody's using them. I think maybe Kroger's is using people like this already, but they're there for customer service, as well as deterring theft, helping with issues in the SCO corral, de-escalating bad situations, things like that. They're present, they help the employees. They're there to not just catch shoplifters, but to help things go smoothly in the stores. We also hire police details. I was not a big fan of that initially, but the police details that we've hired have done a really good job. They are local to the stores usually. They know the shoppers in the stores. They engage customers, they build relationships, and they make the store feel safe. To have an armed officer in the store when you're having, we just got robbed 3 times in about 2 weeks, and we hired police details for the stores that got robbed so that they would feel, this store employees would feel safer, and the customers who heard about these robberies would also feel safer. And that was a great boon to us. If you don't want to hire police details, you always have the option of third-party security as well. And this is pretty much an a la carte thing. You can do whatever you want with a third-party security. You can have armed guards, you can have unarmed guards, you can have the guy driving around in the parking lot with the yellow light on his car just to be a passive deterrent. You can do the training yourself, you can have the company do the training, but there's so many good third-party partners out there that that's something that you can very quickly and very easily work into the store if it's something that's needed. And then store teams, and this is huge. The people in the stores need to feel like they are part of the asset protection team. They are part of the solution. If you want them to help you, feed you information, buy into the de-escalation trainings that I'm going to talk about in a minute, all that kind of stuff, they have to feel like they're part of your team. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute too, how we build those teams a little bit. And then we have a great threat management team. It's a very cross-functional, multifunctional team. It's made up of operations, asset protection, employee services, legal, risk, IT, and our fresh and local DC leadership. And we meet once a quarter to talk about, this is what's happened in the last quarter and what did we learn from this and what can we do better. We talk about technologies that we've seen in that period of time or things that we want to try. We also meet regularly when we have issues, like we had an employee who was stalking another employee and their 2 daughters, both of whom were also employees, and it was almost a daily thing. They would get calls from him and letters from him, and it was a crazy situation, and we were meeting on a regular basis and finally got the issue resolved and nobody got hurt. Knock on wood, thank goodness. Okay, next slide. So training and awareness is another important piece too. You can't just expect employees to know what to do. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how we're going to give this information to our employees. How do we want them to learn this information, absorb this information? So one of the things that we do is CBT lessons. We have a learning hub and we have all kinds of things on there, like what are the signs of workplace violence, what to look for, what to do if there's a robbery, de-escalation training, active assailant training, all that kind of stuff. We're also currently rolling out a live de-escalation training to all our field team right now. We're using them as the guinea pigs to fine tune it. We're trying to figure out a way to roll it out to the stores, maybe just to the MICs. We're not really sure. But it's important that we do it live so they have the muscle memory so that when they are faced with a situation with an upset customer, they know what to do. They know how to react. We also did live, Mark Gaudette, who I think is on this call today, used to be my boss, created a active assailant live training. And we did it here at the support center several times. And then we rolled it out to the stores for all the MICs. We did it remotely. It was during COVID, so everything was done on Zoom, and it was very well received. And we got a lot of really positive feedback and really great ideas about how we can change things in the stores to make them safer. For instance, putting a monitor in the back room and a camera outside the receiving door so the receiver can see who's out there before she lets anybody in. Another thing that we do is our presence in the store is ever present, I guess. We have a field team who each has a district. We have 5 districts and 5 specialists. We also have the team of AP reps. They are always in the stores. They are building relationships. They are talking to people. They are engaging, creating the flow of communication. Something's going on with my audio. Okay. Just helping us to resolve issues more quickly, helping our employees to feel safe. Our team is part of their team. And they feel free to share information with us, which is really important. We always say, how do you find out about stuff? You go to the stores and they go, oh, remember what happened the other day? Well, that's the kind of relationship we're trying to build. So they don't wait till we get there. They tell us about things that are ongoing so that we can react more quickly. And then ORCAs and other organizations. These organizations are awesome. We belong to NEORCA, which is the New England Orca. We also belong to several police info sharing groups where the detectives and other officers are involved in, they get together once a month. They talk about things that are going on. They bring pictures. They bring information about people that have been identified and captured. It's been awesome for us because we've been able to identify a bunch of bad guys that we were looking for that we didn't know who they were. And being part of these organizations provides us not just information, but training and educational information that we can bring back and improve our performance here at the support center and out in the stores. And then feedback. Feedback is key. If the stores are sending you information and you are not responding to it, you don't tell them, yes, I received the information. We are working on it right now. We got it resolved. They're not going to believe you. They're not going to think that there's any point in sending you any information, and you're not going to get the kind of reports that you would get if you didn't provide that feedback. So that's something you have to always think about. People want feedback. People want to know what you're doing with the information that they're sending you. So we always, always, always respond. And it's a tough job because we get a lot of information, but we always respond when somebody sends us information about something they think or something that is happening in the stores. Okay, next slide. So nothing ever stays the same. Change is the one constant in our world. So how do we stay caught up? What's going to happen in the future? So these are all things that I think we need to really think about in our world, especially my world where I'm dealing with security, asset protection, things like that, the new technologies. And I talked about this a little bit. I go home at night and I'm exhausted because there's so many things coming at us from the world of technology, so many solution providers who want to talk to you and show you what they've got. But there's so much new technology out there that you're foolish if you're not looking at what's available and who's got what to offer and thinking about how can I apply this to my own world. New ORC laws are hitting the books these days. They've recently come to our little New England area where we are in Connecticut and Massachusetts, allowing us to prosecute ORC offenders and get them out of our stores. It's really important that you stay up to date with these because you will know what to do when the person hits your store and you want to get them out. What do you have to give the PD? What can they charge him with? Those things are critical. If you can take that case to a police department all wrapped up with a neat little bow, that's great. They'll take it, they'll run with it, they'll prosecute it. So stay up to date with that stuff. And then world events. What are the triggers? You know, what's going on in Gaza? What's going on in Ukraine? What's going on down the street from your store? It's important that you know what's happening. And I used to watch the news on a regular basis. I hate watching the news now because sometimes it's just so depressing, but it's really important that you stay caught up with world events and you know where the next civil unrest demonstration is coming from, or, you know, what the next trigger point is so that you can react to it before it happens. And then networking groups, again, hats off to Mark Goddard, who would always say to us, network, network, network. It's the most important thing you can do. And you know what? That's absolutely the truth. We belong to a lot of networking groups. This group is one of them, ASIS, FMI, there's all kinds of groups out there. It is key to have the perspectives from different people from different worlds. I mean, I even stole Amber's sign. I'm going to bring that up and say, hey, could we maybe try this in some of our locations and see if it works, see if it brings down some of the angst that we have going on in the stores. But that it's key that you talk to other people in not only in your own organization, outside your organization, in your neighborhoods, anywhere you can, and learn as much as you can from everyone. And I think that's it. Do I have another slide, Kevin, or is that the end? That's the end. Okay, so I'm all done.
There we go. Fantastic. Great stuff. And I'm glad that we got to take that little bit of a different angle, Maureen, with you when it comes to talking about safety and that security safety aspect of it as well. Because I know that you're heavily involved with that
Yes.
piece of it. I think from a Q&A perspective here, I did see that a bunch of the Q&A, Amber and Tina were working on some of those. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. We can kind of talk as a group here for a little bit on some of the questions. I think starting with you just were on those signs, Maureen. Let's start with with that piece of it, right? So obviously you guys don't have those at Big Y yet, right?
We do not.
Tina, do you guys have anything like that at Kroger that's either reminding folks to kind of be patient or take a beat, because we're we have, whether it's staffing issues or just from a workplace violence perspective as far as respect goes, and we won't tolerate acts of aggression and things like that.
We do. We have some new signage that we've just recently started putting up in our break rooms as well. I don't believe that it's customer facing yet, but we do have it as far as employee facing.
So from the employee perspective, okay, but not on the front doors and stuff, because you're seeing that a lot of places now. I mean, I'm seeing it at doctors' offices, and I'm seeing it at restaurants, and just knowing that, look, we're a little, and there's a big piece of it, right? Because of all the staffing shortages that we have, but people don't want to hear that. They want to come in. They still want that same level of service. They still want everything to be as timely as it used to be, and it's unfortunate that things aren't just the way they used to be anymore.
No, you're absolutely right. And I know we have a team working on workplace violence, a whole new program and policy. So that may come out of that team. But like I said, I do know that it is employee facing. It is in our break rooms, in our departments, things like that. But there's nothing that I am aware of that's out on our front doors or anything like that at this point.
Yeah, interesting. Well, you might borrow that sign from Amber and Julie too, and take it back internally and see what they can look to use with that, because it's about making that connection, right? It's about making a connection with the customer as they're walking in the door, and it's about making a connection with the associate, which it sounds like, I think from everybody's presentations today, well, it might be being done a little bit differently. I think one of the biggest things that we focus on is how do we connect with that audience, and Tina, from your perspective, I think, and I heard Julie and I heard Amber say it as well, that we want to show that we care. We want them to know that we want you to get home in the same condition that you came to work in.
Yep.
And there's a lot of that messaging around, almost like life lessons, right? Like we want to help you not only do okay here at work, but when you're outside of here, we want to make sure that you're able to take care of yourself, take care of your family, everybody stays safe. What's been the change whether it's in the message, the tone, the cadence that you've seen the biggest change, both in what you guys have adjusted, in the messaging that you're putting out, and maybe in what you're hearing from the stores? Tina, I'll start with you. What do you think is the biggest impact there when it comes to that messaging and that connection?
So I think our biggest impact is when we first rolled out or started to roll out AllSafe. Now, remember, AllSafe is just a couple years old. So when we first started rolling it out, the first thing we did is put some signage up asking our associates, why was it important for them to work safe? We wanted them to think of their family first. And then once we started getting we had signs and we just had them put Post-it notes up. Why was it important? One guy said, I have a snake and nobody's going to take care of it. After I assured the associate I wouldn't take care of it either, but it was important to him. So we wanted to make sure that our associates understood what was important to them was important to us. And that's why this program had to take a whole new look than our old program did. Our old program was in existence for 21 years, and it was time for it to move on. And this program went from safety being a task list to safety caring about me. And, when we're in the stores and talking to our associates, we're having conversations about kids and grandkids and the impact an accident could have on them. Back in the day, it used to be, oh, I'm going to get hurt at work and then I can sit home on the couch and the company is still paying me. They didn't think of the effects of their family. We make sure that they think of their family first because family should be first. Our job helps support our family. And so that's what we want to make sure that they understand. So from day one, it was, let's get rid of the task. Let's bring in what's important, which is your family, friends, activities you like to do. And let's prove to them that this safety program is going to help them take care of what's most important to them. And that's how All Safe started. And we have never deviated from that message from day one.
That's great. Julie, what do you think from the Walgreens perspective?
Yeah, so I was just taking some notes about how I was going to answer this question because there's a lot, right? We, focus on so many different things. I mean, there's so many, everybody on this call knows, there's so many different things to safety touches everything really, right? I mean, everything in our stores, any kind of pilot you're rolling out, whatever, right? Safety touches everything. So we put in a weekly an article, if you will. We write a weekly article that gets out to all of the stores. Our stores do, I'm sure everyone else as well, like these 5-minute meetings with team members, and we include information about safety and how to stay safe in that content as well. Amber did an excellent job talking about one of our programs, the safety focused stockroom, one of the programs that I didn't initially roll out, but we made definitely some huge improvements in how many stores became safety focused after I joined her team. So, at first, the team members are, oh, it's something else you want me to do. We don't want to do that, but when you start to talk about the whys, right? The 5 whys, and really drive home the program, and then one store completes it, right? And then the next store sees that other store completed it, and they get excited and they can see, wow, it's so much nicer to come into the stock room now. There's not junk sitting everywhere and all over the place, and it's organized. They really start to see that buy-in, right? The workplace violence customer facing poster. I know that went over very well. We right away, we started to see social media feedback from our team members and, people posting about, wow, Walgreens is doing this. This is awesome, and I was really, once again, super proud about that. But I think one of the things right now that I'm personally trying to do, along with some of the people, probably on the call today on our team, is just driving home that our team exists, right? We have 8,000 plus stores, so sometimes getting to every one of them can be a bit of a challenge, right? So just continually trying to think about ways to drive home to these stores or to introduce to these stores that we exist and we're here to help. And, I really I think what Maureen said, about answering everyone, right? We have a great team that gets that answer that team member is looking for when they do, in fact, reach out. So those are some things that I noted, to answer this question. Hopefully that all makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And I think it's interesting where, you mentioned, we saw a lot on social media after we rolled this out. When you have 8,000 locations, it's probably a bit harder to touch everybody more individually, and to get that kind of feedback. Maureen, in a company like Big Y, do you feel like you guys get to be a little more face to face with folks?
Yeah.
And get that more personal feedback like that?
Yep. We only have 90 stores, only, whatever.
Yeah,
We have
well,
90 stores.
yeah.
Only in 2 states. So the furthest store from here is 2 hours. It's a car drive away. So it's easier for us to get out there and be proactive. And I think that's the most important thing, is the proactivity. And I didn't mention, but we also have some programs with our employee services department who are as active in the stores as we are on things like unconscious bias and tolerance. And they've changed a lot of policies for employees. Like, you couldn't have purple hair before, but now you can have purple hair. Just being more tolerant of people who are different than you. And it really has done the proactive approach to this and training the employees before the problems start has probably been the biggest boon to us. And being able to get out there and see all our employees are very lucky because we're a fairly small chain compared to Kroger's and Rite Aid. You know, we're our Walgreens. We're not the huge chain that they are. I don't have to fly all over the country to go see employees, so it's a good thing. It gives us a little more personal touch.
Well, and that personal touch comes in two ways, right? Because you both get the connection, and you get to provide that recognition. And
Correct.
I think that was a big piece. That's a huge piece, Tina, of your program. And Julie, I don't know if you guys got to talk about it quite as much. I know that your team was recognized, you know, for the work that you're doing, but as far as recognition in the stores out there, Julie, I'll ask you first, and then Maureen, maybe you can share some too. What's that look like for you guys?
So we have, you know, things in the past, and something that we continue to do is just drive our company. We call them the 4 C's. So being committed, connected, curious, and such, and just, you know, just recognizing team members when they are in fact doing something. You know, and it doesn't just have to be safety, right? Anything, you know, that they're doing well, right? And just trying to call it out on a day-to-day basis. I did really like what Tina had to add, and one of the team members that's on this call from Walgreens, right? We were messaging back and forth about your program, Tina, and what you guys are doing to recognize those folks that have you know, done this life-saving event, right? Because we have that happens in our stores. So I would say, Kevin, it's more like on a store, district, area, region, like recognition as well. We do have things like once a year we have I'm forgetting what it's called right now. Amber, if you're there, you can help me out. It's like a recognition program where we, you know, call people out for doing those things that have been, basically it's like a nomination type of thing, right? Where you know, a store team member, a district manager input something that someone did very, very well, or calling them out. And we have all kinds of different things like that we do. But I really liked Tina's ad, you know, with that life-saving piece. But I think that kind of ties into the program that like I said, that we already have in place. And there's definitely been some, you know, significant stories that have been told, you know, from Walgreens team members and their commitment to everything that they do day to day in the stores to make changes.
Kevin, hey,
Excellent.
Kevin, can I add to that for a second?
Yep.
Your first question, I want to circle back around to as well. I think one of the biggest, Julie mentioned a lot about, you know, team members not only want to hear that you're receiving their feedback, but like what can they see? What are you doing with their feedback? So around the training aspect, like we got asked by a younger generation, you know, of group that said, hey, the training just doesn't resonate with me. Okay, so feedback received, we're flipping it, right? We'll make it user friendly. So I think the biggest thing I see right now is the great work with local PD. And in fact, I would say previously, it's hard for our stores to have PD come and respond in some cases, right? Because so many things happen on a daily basis in certain areas that they're like, we just don't have enough police officers to respond. So we're going to triage it and respond to the biggest issues that are occurring in this area, right? What I see now is our major crimes organization has really been partnering really well with other retailers and the FBI for organized retail crime to say, hey, you know, we track this robbery with our, you know, trace trackers and our money, and we're following them, and they hit up 2 other retailers, potentially it's the same people, and they all partner and go in together and then end up apprehending them. And it not only impacts positively us from an apprehension perspective, but all other retailers around, because they're going to hop. They always do, right? They're going to go from one retailer to the next, and then you can see their trends as you map them. So I would say I have seen the biggest positive shift in law enforcement interaction and support from an apprehension and tracking perspective.
Excellent. No, Maureen, you're doing a lot of nodding.
I'm doing, I mean, everything they said, right? So couple of things. So talking about programs that we have for our employees to recognize what they're doing, we have something called Recognizing Excellence, where somebody does something that goes above and beyond. It's actually an email template that you can send to their employee services person in the store, and they get rewarded for that. So when people do good things, they de-escalate a situation, take care of a customer, or they respond to the alert from our shelf alert system. We can send them a Recognizing Excellence, and those all go in for the Employee of the Year for that location. And you can even win a Big Y company trip to all kinds of places. It depends on where they go that year. They have a retreat that they send employees on every year, and you can win, even if you're a part-timer, casual employee, you can win a Big Y company trip. So there's just all kinds of good things that we can do for those employees. And then what Amber was just saying, the help of local PDs building those relationships and helping the store employees to recognize that they can call on the PD. We just had a guy that was hitting us in, I don't know, he's hit us like 50 times. He's up to, I don't know, like 14 grand in just energy drinks and crab legs. But the store recognized him. I know, whatever, you can sell that stuff. They still crazy things. He was recognized by the store, and they reached out to the local PD, and it was quite an exciting thing. They threw down the spike strips and they flattened all his tires and they chased him, but they caught him and he's in jail now. And that one particular guy was a very dangerous actor in our stores, and the store took care of it because we're communicating with them. We're saying, hey, you're part of our team, and thank you so much for calling the police. And now he's in jail. So good job. Those are the kinds of things that we're seeing.
Excellent. Jack, do we have something from the Q&A that we want to hit before we go? I know some of them were very targeted questions.
Yeah, they
and
are.
Maureen
I've been chomping at the bit here, Kevin. Of course, and I have questions too. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up that I noticed in almost all of your presentations, we have a lot of leaders on here too that are responsible for putting these programs together and rolling them out.
Mhm.
And nobody has a crystal ball, right? Nobody can tell us what's going to happen in the next year. I think we've all got a lot of experience with that over the last several years. But what I wanted to bring up is the idea of pivoting. What types of things can we do out there as leaders to help with that pivot? When things happen that changes the way that we look at what we're doing out there and what we need to do in the stores, and convincing leadership that we need to make these changes, all those different aspects of what you're doing out there. What do you think is the best way, or some of the advice that you can give some of the folks out there about that whole aspect of what you do?
Amber, we'll start with you.
I was just gonna say, I'll go first if you want me to. I think the biggest thing is collaborating.
Mhm.
So amongst retailers, everybody's going through the same thing, and then following your directional data, working cross-functionally. If you're isolated in how you manage and roll out your programs to meet your claim side, or, because you develop your safety programs, environmental programs around usually your claim data or your exposure data, don't isolate it. Work cross-functionally, because chances are there's a lot of other divisions that can utilize your data to help get needs that they need as well. That'll end up reducing your claim side. And then us just talking as retailers, like I mentioned. I really believe in sharing. I don't think any data is confidential. Legal would disagree with me, but I think that, talking on the phone, not sharing data, but like sharing it over the phone is fine. And just continuing to leverage each other in our learnings, because chances are they're happening everywhere. Just as I spoke about the apprehension side and tracking and working with local PD, we're working with all of the retailers in that space too. I know our major crimes division's very, very close with other retailers in this space. And everybody says it takes a village. It takes a village at the workplace too.
Absolutely.
I just like to add to that, one thing is just don't give up, right? If you believe in something and you know something is right, you may not be able to have it right now, but if you work cross-functionally with just like Amber was speaking about, you can get it done, right? Just don't give up.
And I'd like to just add just a couple other things there. Everything that they said, I'm going to say ditto to. But the biggest advice that I would give a leader is listen. Listen to your feedback. Listen to what your stores are telling you. I have 2,800 stores across the United States. I can't be everywhere in 2 hours like Maureen can, unfortunately. Well, maybe on a flight, but it's taking the time to listen to their feedback, hear what's happening in their stores, hear what they're putting up with, what they're dealing with, and then take that data back and collaborate with other companies, collaborate within your team, and figure out the best way to do it.
All right,
Well-
Maureen, bring it home.
I have
Well
one
said,
more
Tina.
thing. I have
Oh,
one
go
more.
ahead,
Oh,
Amber.
sorry, Maureen.
Nope.
No, you go. I'll go after you.
I was just gonna say, well said, that, I mean, all of you guys are right on target. Working with the networking groups to know what's going on in your communities, working with the police departments to know what's going on. One of the things that works best for us is the threat assessment team. We can get together, we can talk about things that are going on. We have representatives from the C-suite down to management. So when we have a need, when we have an issue, we can take those things that have come to us in the last quarter or the last 2 weeks or what have you, and say, hey, this is something that I think would be positive for us. We need to think about doing this because the world changes constantly and you have to stay caught up with the changes that are going on. If you're not paying attention to the changes, you're going to get caught flat-footed and it's going to cost you, it's going to cause problems. So just staying up with that and bringing those things to light to the people who can make those decisions. Go ahead, Amber, sorry.
No, you're good. Thanks. Sorry I interrupted. I think one of the biggest things too, and a lot of companies struggle with this, is from a buy-in perspective at the EOC side. And, some companies, their EH&S division is everybody relies on them to do everything. I'm not a believer in that at all. You have to roll out a leader-led model and really trust and lean on your leaders in the field to manage that work, to roll out your programs, to do the training, make sure they're doing training, give you feedback, and then have the EHS division be resources, provide the regulations, provide the programs, and just partner on it. And I go back to that whole bundling aspect. That's how you get buy-in if you don't have it. You show your financials and you show how it ties into everybody.
Yeah, well said. Excellent. All right, well, we have reached the end of our session for today, so we're gonna stop on that one. Thank you very much to Maureen, Amber, Tina, Julie. You guys were fantastic. Thanks for sharing all the information today. Amber, I did notice that somebody asked for some, like, the deck or something, and as you said, not necessarily can't send it to you. That's probably your legal side talking, but they give me a call and we can talk about stuff. That's the Amber side talking. So love that. So please do feel free to reach out if you guys need any contact information for the panelists. I want to thank our sponsors again today, Sensormatic and Hanwha Vision. Again, make sure you check out sensormatic.com and hanwhavision.com to learn a little bit more about their solutions. Again, LPF, as always, thank you very much for being our education partner, and make sure that you keep track of these CEU credits if you are LPQ or LPC certified. There's that QR code that I told you I would bring back up. So if you are not already subscribed, you should be. I know you've been sitting here, your hands probably tired. You've been holding the phone the whole time, waiting to get to this very screen so you could get that QR code. There it is. And for those folks that are part of the ORC world and you want to get some training to your local law enforcement or law enforcement that's connected with your ORCAs, please do make sure they reach out to me and I can get them some access to training that is FREE free. It's available through scholarships that our wonderful retail partners have donated on their behalf. And with that, Jack Britton, anything else that we want to say before we say goodbye?
Another great session, guys. There was a ton of questions we weren't able to get to. It's just, when we get into these conversations, we get pumped up about what we're talking about, and we run out of time.
Yeah, well, and we'll look at some of those questions and try to get some of the answers, and try to get things, circulated into the folks that did it or through an article upcoming and stuff like that. But thank you again, everyone. And perfect line for this very webinar. Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Have a
Thanks,
good weekend.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.